Empire. Niche sports have found a foothold.
It's varied. I think as we stood up our stream over the last 3 years and our live broadcast has developed, they've really just looked for quality improvements. But now, we're at a place where a lot of the fans are happy with the quality. Of course, we are going to continue to invest in it and improve.
That's Jeff Spring, CEO of the Disc Golf Pro Tour, where interest and growth are happening on and offline. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein. The pickleball phenomenon has been eye-opening. It's not like that sport just got invented. It just has finally caught on, and it's in the midst of a renaissance. So it does beg a question. Is this happening in all sorts of other niche sports? That, of course, depends who you ask. But with the advent of technology and engagement, many sports have found new ways to grab larger and larger footholds. Our guest this week is Jeff Spring. He's the CEO of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Let's take a ride into the future of one of the fastest growing niche sports in the country. Hey, Jeff, how are you?
Doing great, Bram. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to chatting.
Okay. Disc golf's been around a long time. Had different names when I was younger. Take me through where it was, where it is. Can you give me the synopsis of the growth of what has become a legitimized professional sport?
Yeah, absolutely. As the CEO of the Disc Golf Pro Tour, we're at a new peak, but we've certainly come a long way from the founding of the sport. It got really going after the invention of the Frisbee, which has a famous story itself relating to a pie plate, Frisbee's pie plates. But that quickly, grew into more than just kind of a game of catch. And, in the late 60s into the 70s, there's development of disc golf baskets. First, they were just targets. Then they turned into a basket. I think at one point they were called a pole hole, which I think would help your listeners to envision because the game of disc golf is similar to the game of golf. But instead of a hole in the ground, it's a suspended hole on a pole, which is now just referred to as the disc golf basket. And there's chains. And so, the disc has evolved into, a professional implement that can be very accurate and thrown at great distance accurately up to, really 600 feet. Not even, trying to maximize distance, but accurately from some of our pros on tour. So these discs, evolved into the professional sporting equipment that they are now as the basket evolved into the current version where there's chains that people putt into and it knocks it down into the basket. As the sport grew, the Professional Disc Golf Association was born in the early 70s. And that's a membership organization that now has over 250,000 members, paying members, mostly amateur, but also plenty of pros as well. They provide ratings similar to a handicap in golf. And a scratch disc golfer is 1,000 rated, whereas a scratch traditional golfer is a 0 handicap. So we have our own, rating systems, and really the sport grew. A few other metrics to think about is around course. We're now up to about 10,000 courses just in the U.S. and, about 15,000 worldwide. And that grew starting, in the 70s as these courses went into municipalities, public parks, but more and more development now into private land and pay to play. However, the great part about disc golf and something that's fueled this growth is that it's free in 90% of the courses. And it's a very low barrier to entry. So, a lot of disc golfers like to give away their discs. Discs range from between $5 to $10, especially at Play It Again Sports and similar shops, to all the way up to $25 for premium plastic. Or there's collectors markets now where, believe it or not, discs go for up to $1,000 or more. So it's a very interesting spectrum, on the disc market. But yeah, at the bottom of the barrel, you can use your frisbee, you can use somebody's disc, or you can just buy one for $10 and then you're good to go and start playing. So this growth has, accelerated quite a bit to the point now there's more disc golf courses in the U.S. than there are Dunkin' Donut locations. So not one on every corner, but the growth, of course, is if there's a course near you, you're more likely to play. And so we've seen this explosion in players that has kind of given birth to a set of the best players in the world that are dedicating their lives, fully professional, touring the country, and then fighting for their place on tour. So we have a tour card system now, and our top level events of it have exploded as well. And we run 32 Disc Golf Pro Tour or PDGA majors, the elite of the elite golfers that we bring to the public via our live stream Disc Golf Network, OTT subscriber network that we've developed to support it. So that's it in a nutshell. And there are so many facets and so many stories to dive into, but the growth has been spectacular. And the most recent round of growth was fueled by like 250% growth across the industry in the pandemic year. So 2020, 2021, it just absolutely exploded. We've seen a plateau, but growth continues, 20, 25%, coming out of the pandemic as well.
Let's go back to the courses for a moment. There's this explosion of courses. Are those courses dedicated directly to the sport, or are you talking about kind of turning municipal parks into courses as well?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. Our municipalities getting more and more involved. In fact, I'm here in Austin for the Open at Austin, a Disc Golf Pro Tour elite event. And I met with the city and some stakeholders, and they want to invest and figure out how to bring a pay-to-play course at the highest level to the city of Austin. But yeah, the growth has been usually through clubs organized, around courses that exist, saying, "Hey, how can we build another course?" It's a lot of volunteer labor put in, but more and more private investment as well.
Okay. Also, you've had the opportunity here too, and we focus a lot on this show on technology. It sounds like you guys have leaned into social media and leaned into those areas of technology to try to grow the sport. Can you kind of take me through your digital network and how you are trying to rebrand yourself to a larger audience?
Yeah, we have two core elements of our media strategy, and one is based on YouTube and free content aimed at growth. And another is based on our development of the OTT subscriber network, the Disc Golf Network, that we've been working on for the past, I think we launched in February of 2020, which was an auspicious time to launch. But, we've seen growth. We're just cresting 50,000 paid subscribers to our OTT subscriber network, and that's where we put our live coverage. And then on the YouTube side of things, we have a YouTube channel and 3 core YouTube partners, so Disc Golf Media Networks, Jomez Pro, GK Pro, and then Gatekeeper, as well as Ace Run. So I guess we have 4 now that have hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Jomez is pushing 500,000 subscribers. Huh. And by the end of our events, we're usually reporting about 2 million views between YouTube and live coverage. So that's our core media strategy. Beyond that, our live product has really matured and grown. So now we've got about, depending on the event, it's between 30 and 45 media professionals that we've hired and some that we contract with to deliver our live streams. And a lot of our workflow is remote, especially in the control room places. We've got a great relationship with AWS as well as LiveView, and we spin up some cloud servers, and there's a lot of ability to work remotely due to the new technology that's available. And of course, we have on-site media professionals in our media ops team. We usually are around 8 different cameras, but we can scale up and do some for some of the bigger events and majors. So we're able to have feature cards or feature holes and get up to 12 or 15 cameras on the course. Huh. Look and feel is really great when we are able to expand into that second stream we're able to cover it like a PGA Tour event. And if you follow the PGA Tour or LIV, especially PGA, they really are doing a great job of letting you pick the golfers or the groups that you want to watch. So there's tons of cameras, tons of media, and that's at our events as well.
Are you using anything like tracking technology for the discs or the players?
Yeah, so we've started to dabble. Last year we debuted live follow flights, if you will, or disc tracking, in replay, and we have we do that pretty regularly in post production. However, in our live broadcast, we don't have a shot tracker or shot link like the PGA Tour does, although we are working with one of their vendors that they actually own that does tournament logistics and shot tracker. I think it's called ShotLink. And they're considering whether or not it can be applied to disc golf well. And it is certainly expensive, but it's something that we're looking at. And it's certainly, we're always looking at ways to improve our broadcast. We've just introduced some 3D mapping where you can see, immediately after, one of our feature cards throws, you can identify on a 3D map exactly where the disc landed, where the hole is, and kind of look at the like a heat map where discs land more often than not, and where the birdies, pars, bogeys are coming from based on where people are landing. So yeah, looking to always continually improve technology into the broadcast for sure.
I asked this of a lot of people who run different various sports leagues, and I'm very curious to hear what yours is, because yours is so niche. What do your fans want? Like, when you get feedback from them about what you're presenting to them, what are they telling you they want more of?
It's varied. I think as we stood up our stream over the last 3 years and our live broadcast has developed, they've really just looked for quality improvements. But now, we're at a place where a lot of the fans are happy with the quality. Of course, we are going to continue to invest and improve there, but I think that they do want more coverage, as mentioned. So, our goals, based on what we're hearing, are to, stand up more featured cards, kind of cover further down into the tournament. I mean, like you said, we're an emerging sport with a niche audience, and these fans are very passionate. They know, out of a field of 150 players, they may follow regularly 100 of them or know these personalities. So they want to hear from them, see them play, more interviews, more perspective, more storytelling. And I think the burden on our side is to stand up, more streams and more cameras. And we're able to keep adding because of the great support and the subscriber growth that we're seeing.
This episode is brought to you by Chalk and Dog, which brings together the vast experience and expertise of two of the brightest agencies in media, sports, wagering, and gaming. With deep roots in the UK and the US, the agency offers expert guidance in everything from market entry to market expansion for startups as well as established global brands, powered by best-in-class communication and creative experts. Chalk and Dog has vast international experience and delivers results-oriented, tailor-made solutions for B2B and B2C organizations. You had mentioned the pandemic, I guess, initially was a boon to you all because I guess people were looking for something inexpensive to do outside. Can you kind of take me through what happened for those couple of years and how it has potentially boosted the accessibility and the awareness of disc golf?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a wild ride. And in fact, it became, on the business side of things, a bit of a crisis for some of our biggest partners, which are disc manufacturers, because, a lot of them were in states where, the workforce wasn't able to come in and work in their factories in the same way. A lot of the disc golf companies are making discs right here in the U.S., whether it's Innova in California or Discraft just outside of Detroit. Same with MVP Disc Sports just outside of Detroit, Prodigy in Georgia. The list goes on. We also have some partners in Scandinavia, but you're right in saying that the participation level went way up. And I think any outdoor sport saw this, that especially non-contact sports. if we can put our mindset back into 2020, team sports were suffering as well, and that's including ultimate frisbee. So a lot of ultimate frisbee players who love disc sports came over to disc golf, and we actually saw, I think 5 or 6 really notable ultimate frisbee players who are professionals who have come over to disc golf and stayed in disc golf. Notably, Ella Hansen on our female side, she almost won her first elite just last week in Waco, Texas, but she was a national champion in ultimate frisbee. So whether it's the top level or just casually, that bar of accessibility is very low, and a lot of people pick that up, maybe that had just seen baskets in their local park, and were able to get into the sport. And so that surge created a big demand for more discs and new discs. And what happened is that these disc golf manufacturing companies just could not make them quick enough, especially with the shortage of staff and the ability to spin their machines, their injection molding machines to create this, spin them up. And there was this huge surplus in demand, and a lot of these companies were able to go 10 times bigger throughout the pandemic, if not more, buying more equipment, and some of them had to be very careful, because as we plateaued and the demand has reduced a little bit, and now we're seeing it pick back up. Overinvestment was definitely a trap during the pandemic years, but a lot of them are stronger and healthier coming out the other side. But it was a wild ride, and we had actually the Wall Street Journal report on this at the opening event in 2021, doing a story how this level of growth at this time in our society was actually a nightmare for some companies. But looking back, in the end, everybody survived and are better off for it, and the game has nearly doubled. In fact, I think it took the PDGA membership, it took 40 years to get to 100,000 members. And in the last 4 years, we've added 150,000 members. So that's a real barometer right there. It's like, I think it doubled in 3 years after taking 40, to get to that 100,000. Now we're already at 250,000, which we just celebrated 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so as you try to broaden appeal, and let's all hope there's no more pandemics coming down the road here that might jumpstart, attendance and awareness of it. As you think about branding what this is, how do you think through trying to make this a more appealing sport for people who would want to be interested in it?
Yeah, there's such a broad demographic of players. I think it's very important, at the core level, for the sport to keep that accessibility. And we have a UDisc growth report, and UDisc is the app for disc golfers. It's a great way to find courses, because they just pop up, and you'd be surprised if you go onto UDisc and see the courses all around you. I would encourage anyone to pop open the app. It's free to do. But, we want that accessibility, and the fact that even after this huge surge in pay-to-play courses being built, still 90%, free courses. I think that is a really, really solid base to continue to see participation growth. That barrier to entry being so low, as I mentioned. But, in terms of, the next phase, what we're seeing, in terms of the demographic shift, I think a lot of folks that maybe, 20, 30 years ago, maybe getting into their 30s and 40s, might have gone and played golf, got a foursome, gone to a country club, are not looking for that experience. Disc golf definitely has a connection to nature that is more robust than maybe a manicured golf course at a country club. A lot of people like it because it's like a light hike a lot of times with a point, and it's a great way to get out into the natural environment. But it's also versatile. You can do it in a city park as well. So I think that what we're seeing in the growth of pay to play is that kind of experience to have that group of friends, camaraderie, but have a nicer experience with tee times now And, I'm coming from, before I became the director of the Disc Golf Pro Tour and the CEO, I ran 2 courses at Smuggler's Notch Resort in Vermont. So we're seeing mountain resorts or golf courses or private landowners invest to have a great experience. There we have a great pro shop. We've got a patio. You can buy food and drink and enjoy your experience and book a tee time. So that experience mixed with, that low bar to entry, I think can serve us well and really deliver any experience that folks want. The other side of growth is media. We've been working to deliver media content to ESPN. I mentioned our core media strategy being YouTube for growth and the live coverage being on the Disc Golf Network, our OTT subscriber network. But now we've gotten live coverage to the point where we could distribute it to, CBS Sports, which, who we worked with before, or ESPN, who we're working with. We've delivered about 5 programs, all in post-production, to ESPN2 over the last 3 years. And they're interested in continuing that. So right now we're looking at the secondary media strategy where we want to keep our core media, which is strategy intact. It's working. Yeah, there's millions of views, and there's revenue being generated from our network. However, I think that growth strategy is putting it in front of people in places that they watch other sports en masse, whether it's basketball or football, baseball, and just getting it out in front of people's eyes. I think, we've seen Cornhole do a good job of this, making, kind of specific events for the networks when they have openings. As pandemic waned and more sports came back online, those opportunities have been a little bit fewer or harder to get, but there's still high interest. And what we're looking for now is like basically a league deal, and we're in kind of advanced negotiations with a couple of these companies now. So we're excited to put more media out to the kind of distributed to the masses through national broadcasters or streamers.
Okay, last thing I was going to ask you how you kind of view competition. Is pickleball competition? Is cornhole competition? Are these types of kind of emerging sports, niche sports? Do you view them that way, or are you adjacent to them? Do you try to maybe copy some of the successes that they've had? How do you view that?
Yeah, I don't view them explicitly as competition. Certainly, there's only so many eyeballs watching, new sports. But I really think it starts with the base of disc golfers. We know, there's, pretty much 10 million, disc golfers right now that are playing regularly, and that's growing. And, looking within that base of players to draw them further in and get them more excited, get them watching the best in the world, and get them to, buy a Disc Golf Network subscription is, our main path to growth is, create more disc golfers, have those disc golfers, really get into the sport and enjoy it, and enjoy following it, and then get them watching. And so, I think that for the casual fans, and maybe people that, a lot of people have actually gotten into it that don't play now. And I think that that's where there is some competition. Are they more compelled watching, cornhole or maybe pickleball or disc golf? And, to that extent, they are so different. It's I suppose that it would be, analogous to, the NBA or the NFL being a competition. There's different storylines. And I think that they don't necessarily, look at each other as competition, but, know that they need to create a compelling media product that fans want to watch. And so if you look at baseball, they just, introduced a more aggressive pitch count, pitch clock. And that's aimed at keeping the pace of play up and keeping their media product compelling and viewable. So, yeah, I mean, I would say to a degree, there certainly is competition. We want to see, our product out there and being viewed and being picked up by the masses. But I think that primarily, if we do a good job, we're going to capture more and more disc golfers. And, there's not necessarily the idea of competition in that. It's just we need to keep creating a compelling product and putting in front of a growing mass of disc golfers.
Jeff Spring is the CEO of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
on the next Future Sport podcast. Weighted wearables continue to increase athletic performance.
One of the ways that I often describe to get started with describing with microload, coaches that do well with microloading will add the microload to feed into what they're already attempting to do with a drill. So if we do it well, then likely you're getting to that end goal faster. You're getting there in less time because you've more directed the challenge.
That's Dr. Erin Fazer, head of science at Amorpho, where finding the right balance is the key to maximizing athletic potential. That will do it for this episode. As always, the future is now. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein.